will be available after we've finished all of our nice editing. So welcome, everyone. As I mentioned just a moment ago, my name is Kelly Jo Drilovich. I'm the Director of Sales here at Delphia Consulting. And today we're going to talk about employee and manager self-service. So if you're not familiar, you may have, with our organization, you may have received an email from us. Maybe you're new at your organization. Just a little bit about our group, Delphia Consulting. We're one of the top HRMS, Sage HRMS business partners nationally. We have staff all throughout the U.S. I'm talking to you today from a home office outside of Seattle. Our headquarters is in Columbus, Ohio. And we currently have a staff of 15 certified consultants on the Sage HRMS product line, which is the most of any business partner in North America, and including Sage's team as well. As the slide here shows, our average years experience for our consulting staff with the product is a little over 17 years. The newbie on our team, newest person, has 7 years experience consulting with the product. So you are in good hands with us. We are also endorsed solutions providers. The Sage HRMS HR Actions is a product we've developed, as well as many of the plugins for HR Actions and the Sage HRMS Payroll. But today we're going to focus on employee and manager self-service. And just a little bit here from the Forrester Research Group. Back in 2009, so 6 years ago, they had termed that the employee and manager self-service really is a core application, especially groups with over 100 employees. Having been I'm a former payroll manager, and having sat in many of your shoes before, I know what it's like to have that, shuffle through the office of people asking, I need my copies of my last 3 paychecks, and where can I find this document, and do you know how much vacation I have? I can't find my last pay stub, and all that good kind of information. So we are able, with the Sage employee self-service, to put a lot of that information into the hands of the people that are asking these questions, and really empower our employees and management team to have the information they need when they need it. Okay. I'm going to do just a little I want to talk a little bit. There is a component within the employee self-service that is the employee analytics. It's called, it's a view builder. It's very similar to the Sage Secure Query report writing tool that is available within the core system. And what this allows us to do is to build views of data that exist in the system and put them up in the self-service portal. If it didn't come with a view of particular information, we feel important to share with either our employees, our managers, or some of our executive team. We do have the capability to do that with the view builder. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on that today as well, and how that would be applicable and being used. I did want to take a moment to do just a little bit of a disclaimer here. I've got several demonstration environments we're going to pop into today and look at information. And my disclaimer is this, that there's the core employee self-service. An additional component for that could be the online benefits enrollment, and that is these 2 menu items right here, the employee life events and open enrollment. So those are part of owning the benefits enrollment module. So if you don't own that module, which plugs into the employee self-service framework, obviously those menu items would not be there. If you have the Sage Abra Train, we can view some of the information from Train in this. If you don't have it, obviously this item would not be here as well. And then we've also, because this framework for the employee self-service is so versatile, we're able to add additional items on the menu. And today in many of my environments, I have the Sage time and attendance and the HR actions. So time and attendance is this icon, and then the employee punch in and punch out. And the HR Actions, the electronic forms component, would be these two items, the HR Actions here and the Dynamic Forms checklist. We'll take, if we've got time, a little bit of time to take a peek at those, but I just want to give you guys a feel for what comes with the system out of the box and how you might be able to use that. Additionally, when we go into some of the sub-menus here, we may have added some things in here like a custom pay stub here, or this is a HR Actions form plugin there as well. So this is examples of adding things on the menu. So I will point those out as we go through our presentation today, but don't hesitate to ask any questions regarding that as we move along. So without further ado, I would like to go ahead and pull up our self-service environment. So just because I've had this up for a while, it does like me to refresh so that I'm getting in here. Now the login page, this is just a simple, we've added the company logo here and a little welcome to our portal. We can work with you if you have a specific style sheet and you would like it to look more like your regular website. We're able to work with you to do that. We've got several different views within the system to look at today. And so we're going to start out with an employee. So I'm first going to log in as an employee here at my Dunedin Enterprises company. In case you didn't know, Brad Pitt works for them. So we've got, as an employee, I have my menu items down the left-hand side. You'll notice from the screenshot that I just showed you in this particular demonstration environment, I've got it pretty much bare bones, except for we do have the training module there, so those will be some items here. But of note here on my home page, I'm able to do some personalization. And because I have the, I'm using benefits in Sage HR, I'm able to show my benefits up here, what I'm currently enrolled in. That is without the online benefits enrollment, just as a quick reference for the employees to see that information. So I've done some personalization on my home page, and just by clicking this personalization, I'm able to add or turn things on or off and save that and go back to my home page, and then we'll note that I removed that benefits information. And it looks like this demonstration environment I don't have payroll history on. Oh, I do. For some reason that wasn't showing me in my little view there. Okay. So first of all, what do we need to have to be able to show the payroll information in here? We need to have the Sage Abra payroll. There are some exceptions with the Sage 300 CRE, the construction and real estate payroll, formerly known as Timberline. There is an integration piece where we can show pay advices from that payroll in the system, but currently that and the Sage Abra Suite payroll or the Sage HRMS payroll are the only ones that we can see. So if I click on the PDF icon there, it's bringing up a copy of this pay advice. So it's got all of the information on it that myself here as the employee needs to know, what my current information and earnings were as of this check date on 12/19/2014. So it's meeting all of the requirements: company address, employee name, check date, pay period, the rate here that they're being paid, all that good stuff, our deductions and taxes. And then down here we've got some balances. Okay. So without having to go to the accounting department or HR payroll team to get copies of those pay advices, I can come out here and look at those whenever I need to and print a copy if I needed to. Okay, so that was navigating directly from here. This system is reading directly from the core HRMS database and Abra database. So if the information is in there, we're seeing the information real time. Now in this instance, when I've come into the personal profile, I'm masking my Social Security number here, and if employees come to make changes, you'll see if we're allowing them to make an edit, they'll have a pencil and paper here with the edit. And I can see here that we've already made a change for Brad, and it's pending. So this is going through an approval process, and there's very few circumstances where I would say, oh, I wouldn't recommend going through an approval process, having a second set of eyes on it. Obviously, if someone's changing their where they live, there may be tax implications and things like that, so having that just update the system without going through an approval process really doesn't make sense in my mind. So that's why we're seeing the edit here, and he's being notified that we've got a change pending. So these are other areas that is pulling directly from the database, and here we haven't made an edit yet, but it's telling us if we do, it's going to require an approval process. Okay, so able to do my home phone, cell phone, business phone, etc. Update that, and I just go into the edit mode here, and I can add in these additional numbers or make changes as necessary. Okay, so for our purposes today, I'm just going to get out of there and go back to looking at some of the information that is in the system here. Again, whether you choose to allow them to be able to add dependent information really depends on your circumstance and the time of year, all of those good things. One of the areas that I recommend that, I think is so helpful is being able to show this emergency contact information. We often forget to go ahead and update that information when we're making changes to our records out there. So notifying someone that we've made these changes, again, is very important. Okay, so it's telling me that my secondary contact. So there was actually some requirements here that we hadn't met just in the core system. So now that he's making these edits, we're telling him, he needs to finish all of those. Okay, so changes pending there for him. Now, other areas that are very nice to be able to empower our employees to see information is the time off area. So if you are doing your time off in Sage Abra Suite or Sage HRMS, and we're using the time off module, we're able to show that here in the system. Now, it is going to pick up one, we've got some setup options where you may have a single PTO bank. So obviously, if you don't have a sick leave bank and a vacation bank, you've got PTO, that's what it would show. And then likewise, if we're trying to manage someone who is on FMLA, and they've gone through the process and they've been approved for FMLA, we could even show an FMLA bank, and the employees are only going to see that if we've assigned an FMLA bank to them in the core system. So here's Brad. If I did these downward chevrons here and I had taken time off in this plan year, it would show me those time off balances here. But what I'm going to do now is Brad needs to take some time off next week. So he's going to go in, decide his plan. He's going to do the calendar. He wants to take the 28th through the 30th off, 24 hours. And you'll see there's some notes over here where you may ask them to do a start and stop time if they're taking less than a full day off, things like that. So I'm going to say that he's going to write a little note here to his supervisor. He's going fishing, apparently ice fishing. So he's made that request there. Now, if you allow your employees to make requests in advance, we can go out here and I'm going to ask for a week off in August because I've just booked a plan there. So Brad can get all these things out there, and maybe this time he's taking the kids to see my folks. So the approval process that we have turned on in this environment, so now he sees these requests that he's made out there in the future. They are a pending status. If something came up and he was going to, they had a change of plans, he needs to delete that, he could go in and delete it or make edits to it until it's been approved. So he's gone out there, did his time off request. We'll see that there's the ability for the employee to change their login information. Very nice that we have the ability, we set up on the setup of the system, there's a library of questions that you can have the employee select which questions they would like to choose from to do an answer, and then that will be their, if they forget their login credentials, they'll be able to get that information and get it reset by answering those questions. If they don't remember their answers to those, then they will have to contact your HR or payroll. The system is designed to be administered by our HR and payroll team versus an IT professional. Also, we showed that on that little widget, but again, this is reading from the core system what benefits were enrolled in. Now, we can place links on the menu here, so I might have a link to my Kaiser Permanente, my provider. I could also provide links to maybe summary plan documents that we have or other forms that we would like them to complete and turn in. So even without having the online benefits enrollment module, we can still do some functionality or give the employees the ability to see some information or have links that are important to them. When do you need to know what providers you can go see? 10 o'clock on a Friday night when you have a sick child. So giving the employees access to this information is very important. Now, in the employment area, this is reading from, again, the core system. And this is not his actual pay history. This is what he's scheduled to be paid, okay? So he can look down. He's been with the organization since 2007. He sees what his current values are, and he can look at this historical information. Again, if we're creating those history records when we make changes. So that's the compensation area. Job, this is where he's showing information. He's currently a machine operator 2, been here 7 years, 2 months, reports to Clint Eastwood. And then here's some of our organizational levels where he's at. If he had historical different jobs he'd held at the organization, that data would be shown down below. Okay, so apparently he's been a machine operator for his tenure with our organization. The performance review, this is just linked to our overall scoring in the system. Poor Brad, looks like he hasn't had a review since 2009, and they missed his last review date of the 12th. We'll talk about some ways to help make that less likely to happen. The system does have some automated reminders to supervisors in it as well. So he's not seeing the actual review form, he's just seeing what the overall scores are. Now, if you're not tracking this information in your Sage Abra or HRMS system currently, no worries. You're able to turn on and off access to that. Again, it's very easy to do so. So in my demonstration environment, we do have the training module, so he can look in and see what all these different classes that he completed. We can see that little time and date that he did that. He can go back to the list. And if he had any certifications, that's training with new requirements. Oops, looks like he's got a couple expired out there. He needs to get going on that. The other areas of the system that he can see here are a phone list. Now, this is a internal work phone number list, and these are work email addresses that are shown in the system. And here we have a couple different companies in our system. We can just give him access, or he can just look for one versus the other. If he wanted to look up his own information, well, there he is. So he's got his information there. So a little quick find. So that's a quick tour of the employee view. Again, you can go back to his home page. He can look, there's those 2 time off requests he did. We see that address change that he submitted, looks like last week. He can come out to his message area and his personal requests, and he can read about all of these. So there's that time off request that he did. He made some changes to emergency contacts, and then he submitted an address change earlier. Okay. Let's go ahead and log off now as our employee, Brad. We're going to log back in now as his supervisor. So in my demonstration company, Brad reports to Clint Eastwood. So when Clint logs into the system, he's got a little bit different of a view. So obviously he's an employee with our organization, so he has the employee area to get to his own information. He has some more information here in his home page, and I promised to do a little shout out if we had any other add-ins here. We have the ability to do some custom widgets or little things to place on our home page here, and we've done one based around his employees. So he's got the employee compensation quick view here. He's got a quick view out here to the time off calendar. Yet he still has all of his messages here, and he's got his pay history here as well. Now, he may have been notified when he, via email, those can be turned on or off if there's an approval to be made. So let's say in our demonstration system here that he received a couple of emails this morning. So one of them, first off, was from one of his employees, Shania, talking about taking 24 hours of vacation next week, and she's going to Disney World. And then we see Brad's request here. He's going fishing. Those are for the same time frame. So looks like he'll have to make a call there if he is going to allow both of his employees to be off there. But he could go directly to the message center here, and much like Brad, where he saw his personal requests out there, there are also some time off requests happening. So what we have here is it's going to put these, the newest at the bottom, it's going to, as these come in, time and date stamp when these were received from his employees. Now, if you have a full-blown timekeeping system and it's got the self-service capabilities, such as the Sage time and attendance, then I think it makes sense to do those time off requests through your time and attendance system, because then those will flow over to schedules and time cards for the employee. But we've got a lot of employers that maybe don't have as sophisticated of a timekeeping system. Maybe it's kind of just bare bones time in and out. They're punching at a clock, or maybe we're doing paper timesheets, those kind of things. So, you know, we would have a discussion with you, obviously, to see whether or not it makes sense to do these things in the system. But directly from here, he's got the view of time and date stamp when this request came in. So it came in before Brad's time off request. So he could take action directly from here, and he's going to go ahead and approve hers. And he's going to reject Brad's. He can write a little note to Brad and say, sorry, we've got too many people out. Perhaps the following week. Okay. So he's added his note, and we've rejected these two. He's also got a pending here. You know, I want to check the calendar on that just to make sure that I don't have other people off. It was real easy to see those two requests here for Brad and Shania, so I'm going to go ahead and send those off. But I want to do a quick check to see if I had anybody else scheduled, just because they weren't all requesting the same time off at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to go look in the manager's area in just a moment for that. So he's going to wait on that. He sees his own changes there. He's also got some notifications. So again, this was part of the email that came over to him. These were those time off requests. And we're seeing here these rejections. So we see that he approved that. That's just a notification reminding him when he approved it. He can mark all of those as read, get those out of that inbox for him. Then he's got a little reminder here. So we've got the birthday reminder set up in this system. So about 30 days in advance of an employee's birthday. And notice we're just showing the month and day, not the year, of the birthday. So it's a quick little reminder. Another reminder that will show up on the manager's self-service in their message center is reminders for performance appraisals. So those will come up, and as well as a reminder for an employee's anniversary date. Okay, so the date of their anniversary, their manager may need to get with them and take them out to lunch or something great. So let's go in. Clint, he wants to take a look at the calendar here. So he is looking at his time off calendar for his employees. He can go to a specific date, and when I click on the date, I'll see these two requests here. So I've got my approved. Shania was approved. Brad, we've rejected. So come next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Brad calls out sick. Those were the days we denied to give him the time off. That's a little suspicious. I think I better have a talk with Brad, okay? Now we can also go forward in time. We had those requests for August, so I just want to go out there and look at my time off calendar in August, and I see those requests out here for Brad. If I click on that day again, it will show those requests out there. So that looks good. Nobody else has requested time off. So I can go back to my message center and approve it, or I can go directly to this time off area in the managers, and I can see this rejected request that I did, and I can come out here and approve it from here as well. So once I do that, I also have the ability, even if I'm just checking on employees' balances, to come out here, see what they carried over, any accrued, and then again, if they had taken time off, actually it's been paid, it would show up in the taken area during this time off plan year. Okay, so he's looked at his employees. We've taken a peek at the time off calendar. What are other things we need to reach out to our employees for? So heaven forbid we have a work-related accident and we need to go out there and reach any of these emergency contacts out there. Unfortunately, in my demo, we'll have to go and approve those phone numbers for Brad here in a moment. So I'm able to see specific things on my direct reports. Compensation, this is what they're scheduled to be paid, and again, I can see the historical. I'm not seeing their actual payroll. Nothing confidential has been disclosed. If they have garnishments or anything like that, the manager is not going to know that. They can also go out and the phone number here is a home phone number or other phone numbers. So Brad doesn't show up for work today. We can call on the cell phone, home phone, and find out what's going on. Again, we're not showing confidential information there, just providing that manager access to that information. So whatever information we decide to make available to the managers here, this is the event screen. Doesn't look like we have any events that we're tracking on those employees there. So these are, again, just areas they can look at information here. So we've got a quick look there at the seniority for that. Now, also I can look at our organization, and this is just looking down my reporting tree there, okay, who reports to me. Obviously, if I log in with someone, we can log in as Clint's supervisor in a moment, and we'll see that he has different access to this. Okay. So the other thing he can do is while he's gone, maybe he's going to take some time off, he could assign someone else in the organization to be an approver on while he is gone, and then if he assigns that temporary approver, next time he logs in after that vacation, it will ask him if he wants to revoke those temporary approver rights. Okay, so I'm going to log in now as the third role in a system, the self-service. So now we are here as someone who's very much like you guys would be, an HR payroll administrator. So Veronica, she's an employee here, so she has the employee menu. She happens to be a manager. She has the manager's menu, and she's the system administrator. Okay, so as the system administrator, she's able to do some very specific things, and we'll look at those in just a moment. So she's got some approvals to do here. So Brad changed his first and second contact's emergency contact phone numbers. Those all look good. We can go ahead and approve those. He had an address change. Looks like he forgot to put an apartment number in there at one time. We'll approve that. Clint Eastwood has, looks like we're going to reject this second one. Send that out. Then we'll come back in and approve the subsequent one. So we're going to approve that. Okay. So now, not only have I've updated it, it's gone back to the core section, the core system, and it has updated the new address for Clint, the phone numbers for Brad's emergency contacts. And I come down here and I see my staff, my little reminders out here. So we've got a couple of employment anniversaries coming up close, and I'm going to keep the other ones. I'm just going to get rid of those so that I'm only seeing the most current information. So now I've just got that stuff coming up on Joseph Black. Okay. So as I mentioned, a system administrator has some particular roles here with the setup of the system. Obviously, if we don't have the online benefits enrollment, I've hidden those icons from the actual menu, so these would not be included. They can go in and look at who's logged into the system here, so I can come out here and see that Clint Eastwood is logged in. Oh, look, he's logged in several times today, and then before that it was all the way back in October that he had. Now, if we've had a couple tries and the employee locks themselves out, we can unlock the system and do a password reset. We can talk with some of our consulting staff about when and how those things occur. Also, we need to manage and get our terminated employees out of our system for access to the self-service module at some point, so we could delete their access to the system at some point. So that was in the login maintenance. We've also got the ability here. Let's take a look at some of the setups. I've got a couple companies here, but we're all utilizing one configuration. When I mentioned that we have approval processes and we're just notifying here or determining here who the person, the approval goes to. So whether we're going to allow them access to something or not, we are determining that from the menu. So when it comes to things like pay history, obviously no access or view is all they're going to get. We're not going to allow them to change their pay history or anything like that. So we're just allowing them or making some quick determinations whether they're doing that. You'll notice I turned off a lot of our custom menu items that we have in this particular system. We've also got the ability here with just some radio buttons and how we're going to do that, how we're going to show employees any costs for those health benefits that they had, and how far in advance we're going to do the performance review reminders, birthday and anniversary, and how we're going to, what those anniversary reminders are based on. Okay. And also, if we've done some custom content, we have the ability to go out here and do some edits to that information there. So this is, again, designed to be maintained by an HR payroll professional. Now, while we're here at this area, I just want to take a couple minutes and talk about the view builder. This is that employee analytics that we have. So as I mentioned, it's very much like the secure query. I'm going to go into a view that I created earlier today. I have in my demonstration system, I have created some custom fields in a custom table, right? So when it shipped, Sage didn't know I was going to create an onboarding checklist screen in my system and have dates in it. So I've created that out there, and basically I went out and selected the various fields that I wanted to use for my view, and I've then did some grouping by employee last name. It's really just some radio buttons there, and I'm just a little bit slow, running a little bit slow in this demonstration environment. But I can show you basically all the information that I grabbed out there. I can do this quick preview. And again, for time, I'm not going to get real deep into the view builder, but I want to hit a couple of high points with it. So we saw that the system had access to some of our core screens in the system. So we may want to provide access, as I mentioned, to this, to some custom detail screens that we've created for our system here. Seem to have locked myself up here. Let's see. And there we go. Never fails. We'll give it a minute here before we get back to our system. Let me speak to a few things while we're here before we can show that file. Sometimes we've shown how I can view information on somebody in my reporting chain, right? So Brad Pitt and Shania, they both report to Clint. Clint happens to report to John Wayne. If John Wayne logged in, he'd see Clint, Shania, Brad down that reporting chain. We also have executives at any of our organizations. Maybe we've got a CFO. Maybe they have 5 people in the accounting department that report to them, but it's the CFO. If they wanted to be able to see specific information, we could do what's termed an executive viewer on particular pieces of information and just show that to our specific viewers out there. Just give them, as a named viewer or a role we give them, access to various pieces of information. There is also the ability here to create an IQY file, which is a web-based Excel file. So I've got clients using this who maybe want to grab compensation information and do some budgeting modeling. So they can create this, build the view of the data that they want to view. I'm kind of locked up there, so I'm just going to close these out and hope that it'll let me back in here and be a little bit happier with me this time. This is more indicative of my running multiple demonstration environments than the performance of the system itself. So bear with me a little bit while we look at that. So back to the IQY file. So I can have compensation information in it. I can open up that information. I may build out in a particular screen data. Oh, that's not going to cooperate with me today. So I'll add into our presentation at the end. We'll look at some of those views, but we are able to actually put the custom content on the screen so those views could come out and we could see that data. With the time we have left today, I wanted to leave some time for Q&A. I did want to log into another example of our self-service portal, and I've got this one running right now. Let me just do a quick refresh out here and talk about some of an example where we've embedded some other login to some other systems there. So I can log into this system. I'll log in as Clint in this one as well. And when I come into this system and I look in the employee area, here is Brad. We've got a lot more real estate. So these were those items that I had turned off access to in that one demonstration environment, but in our little PowerPoint presentation, oops, I'm just having a great day today. In our PowerPoint presentation, I highlighted those as something that is not in a standard system, right? It would be like our open enrollment module or things of that nature. So what I've accessed now here is via single sign-on. We've got the Sage time and attendance. If I was an employee and I was punching in for the day or out for the day, I could do my punches here via that and then go back to my workstation. It tells me I did a successful punch in, and then I'm back at home as well, or back to the home environment. The other areas that we're showing here, obviously an open enrollment or a life event screen. Oh, look, my, okay, I hate to switch gears there. That was my view for that view builder had finally cut loose. This is part of the open enrollment, being able to do some life events out there. We've got the ability to do our open enrollment if it's open enrollment time and go through those processes. And we've also, looks like I'm not having a very good luck with that system today. So let's go ahead and see if it's opened back up for me, that view builder. There it is. And I'm going to do Clint as our employee. Well, that just isn't very helpful today at all. Let's get back in there and take a look at that. maybe it's happy now that we've come out, and we'll relaunch the vBuilder and take a quick look at this. And I'm about to open up the floor for questions. If you would like to type a question in the box, and we can address that, and then we'll spend the last 5 minutes. We'll stop the actual recording area and do some live Q&A if we need to. So if you want to type in those questions, here's this view of apparently nothing. Fields out here. Did we finish that? All right, I'm going to go back to the question and answer, and I do apologize. I had a little bit of difficulty with some of my demonstration environments today. So have we got any questions coming in? And I'm going to ask my assistants here if they have any questions in that question area. Okay. And our first question comes from Angie. What is the best practice for getting employee buy-in, particularly for employees that don't use computers on a regular basis? That's a really good question. And I can speak to that from a personal standpoint. My husband's a machinist here in the Seattle area at Boeing. Very blue-collar environment, obviously, building airplanes. And several years ago, they went to a strictly, they quit mailing out direct deposit devices. Okay, so in our state, if we provide access via kiosk at work and provide some method for employees that don't have internet access at home, we're able to do that. So there are some rules involved with that. You as a group may decide on a spiff or something like that. Sometimes I've worked with organizations that the cost savings for not having to mail out or the time and expense it takes to distribute out pay advices for the people that have direct deposit, they have gone to a where they spiff them maybe a Starbucks gift card or something like that by signing in for the first time and doing that. So there are some ways to drive that. One of the best ways is, again, you need to check with the laws in your particular state or states that you have employees in. But for them, they just really gave them no choice. It was, you want to access this, this is what we're doing. I think part of the best practice is giving them enough time for the transition, so starting your messaging early and being able to speak to some of the benefits to it. You have the ability to decide how to do, I just kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry, you have the ability to decide how far in advance you want to do that, or you've got the ability to decide if you want to deploy it on your intranet or on the internet. The other thing that you can do is, again, early messaging for that. So I've got somebody who asked to show the performance review section. And again, that is only a view into actual scores here. If you're looking for something that would be able to do online performance evaluations, then we would love to talk to you about the employee self-service through Sage or through HR Actions to do that. So we do have some options out there, and I think earlier this month we did have a demonstration or a webinar on that. So I will get your name off of our list, and we'll view that again. Now, I had another question. Is the employer name pulled from the employee's employer in HRMS, or does it need to be customized in the ESS setup? I don't. That's a really good question, Todd. I don't know, because the way my system is configured right now. so I will get an answer for that and email that to the group today. I know that we do have done for other employers a customized style sheet so that each employer had slightly different, and we've also done some custom views out there for employers that maybe have employees that switch from company to company and they get multiple W-2s, right? So the companies each have different EINs and they do that, so I'll do that. What is the ability for managers to run comp reports, service reports, etc., or does the system administrator have to push the canned reports out? That is partially correct. We do have the ability in self-service to put some crystal reports on a reports area. So when we logged into one of our environments here, we have a reports area. I just have not put any reports in this particular demonstration environment. So there is, they're not the canned ones, they are crystal. So there's really, we would need to have a discussion with really what you're trying to achieve and talk about security and who can see what on that. So the IQY file, or being able to create that view, again, as a manager, I can look at all of my employees pretty quickly and see just kind of their schedule compensation. But if you want to, have a report that digs deeper into that, we might have some recommendations for you as well. Okay, those were the last of the questions that I see here in our Q&A box, and I apologize for some reason. These are, there we go. These are kind of small. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor if you have any questions. So I'll do my stop